The camera shouldn't have been on. That was the first thing the trembling intern realized when the grainy midnight clip flickered onto the monitor. At first, the frame was empty. Just a dim rehearsal studio drowning in silence. Nothing unusual. Nothing alarming. Nothing worth a second glance. But then, a shadow glided across the floor, followed by another. Two shapes materialized in the doorway like phantoms stepping out of a forbidden memory. The intern leaned closer, heart hammering. Those silhouettes, they were familiar. Too familiar. Jun-ho YoonA. The intern blinked once, twice, convinced the system was glitching. Neither of them was scheduled. No one had checked in. The building should have been locked. And yet there they were, in the one studio rumored to be off limits after midnight. The lights flickered overhead as if reacting to their presence, as if the room itself wasn't prepared to witness whatever was about to unfold. Jun-ho stepped into view first, sweat glistening along his jaw, shirt clinging to him like he had been dancing for hours. YoonA hesitated at the door, hood up, breath shallow, looking like someone who wasn't supposed to be there, yet couldn't turn back. Then the unthinkable happened. She closed the door behind her. And just like that, the camera captured the moment that should never have existed. An unplanned meeting, two familiar shadows, and a silence thick enough to shatter under its own weight. The intern's hands shook as he increased the screen brightness. Whatever this was, it wasn't practice. Not yet. Not even close. The clip jumped slightly, as if the camera itself gasped, then stabilized. Jun-ho turned. Their eyes locked. And for 3 long impossible seconds, neither moved. That was the first moment the intern realized. This footage was dangerous. YoonA placed her bag on the floor, a quiet thud echoing through the studio like a heartbeat. She didn't look surprised to see him, only caught, like she had walked straight into a scene she'd both expected and feared. Jun-ho pulled out one earbud. No greeting. No explanation. Just a look that said everything without a single word spoken. "What are you doing here?" she asked, voice soft, cautious. He watched her for a moment before answering. "Escaping." She exhaled a half-laugh, half-confession. Same. As if fate had rehearsed it with them. Silence fell into place perfectly. She stepped forward, drawn by something unspoken. He extended the earbud toward her. Not a question, not an invitation, just a gesture loaded with something too natural to ignore. She took it. The music thumped, slow at first, then stronger, then deeper, like it was pulling the room into a rhythm of its own. They moved without thinking. Warm-up stretches turning into synchronized steps, steps turning into flow, flow turning into tension charged enough to electrify the empty studio. The camera recorded everything. Their shadows intertwined on the mirrored wall, turning 2 separate figures into a single, pulsing silhouette. YoonA twirled lightly, laughing when Jun-ho missed a step. He reached out instinctively to steady her, fingers grazing her arm, and the air shifted, tightened, deepened. The intern watching the footage held their breath. This wasn't acting. This wasn't choreography. This was something else entirely. They transitioned into a routine they both knew, but hadn't rehearsed together. Their bodies aligned like muscle memory had chosen for them. When Jun-ho stepped behind her, guiding her hips with precise pressure, YoonA didn't flinch or break rhythm. She leaned into it, matching him breath for breath, heartbeat for heartbeat. Their reflections glowed under the dim lights, the mirrored glass catching the kind of spark that had started rumors for months. But here, unfiltered, unedited, unscripted, it was undeniable. At the 32-minute mark, everything changed. Jun-ho lifted her. Higher than the choreography required. Longer than necessary. Closer than appropriate. Her laughter softened. Their faces hovered inches apart. Neither of them moved. The intern paused the footage instinctively. The still frame burned into the screen. Jun-ho holding YoonA in a moment that looked too fragile to interrupt, too intimate to explain, too real to ignore. The intern whispered into the empty room. "Oh no!" But the universe always interrupts the wrong moments. A loud knock blasted through the speakers. Jun-ho gently lowered her. YoonA took a step back, panic flickering across her eyes. A staff member poked their head in, eyes widening at the sight of the two stars standing too close, breathing too hard, flushed in a way rehearsals didn't justify. "You both are practicing." Neither answered. Because the real question was, who told him they were there? The studio log showed no entries. Security had no record of their arrival. They hadn't informed anyone, which meant someone knew something they weren't supposed to know. The staffer lingered awkwardly, muttered something about locking up soon, then left. YoonA looked at Jun-ho, uncertainty flickering across her face. He rubbed the back of his neck, exhaling deeply. "We should go," she whispered. He didn't argue, didn't ask, didn't look back at the camera, because he didn't know it was watching. They left together. Lights off. Door closed. Studio silent. The footage ended. The intern reported the file to the supervisor. Within 20 minutes, 3 other staff members were crowding around the screen. Within an hour, the clip was flagged as sensitive. Within 3 hours it disappeared completely. Deleted, overwritten, erased from every system. Official reason. Data corruption. Unofficial truth. It was too real to release. Too easy to misunderstand. Too natural to deny. But the story didn't end with the deletion. Delete. Not the footage. No one had dared copy it. But the whispers. The description. The intern's trembling words. They weren't acting. Months passed, but the rumor never died. Anytime Jun-ho looked at YoonA on stage with that soft, unguarded expression, fans compared it to the lost moment. Anytime YoonA laughed at his jokes too naturally, the theories resurfaced. Anytime an interviewer mentioned their chemistry, they exchanged a glance that said more than the scripted answers allowed. And every fan who heard about the midnight footage began to imagine it. 2 artists alone in a dim studio, dancing without choreography, without cameras, without safety nets. A moment too fragile for the world to twist. A moment too sincere for the industry to broadcast. A moment that lived only in their memories, and in the silent hard drive that once captured it. The truth is this. The footage wasn't hidden because it was scandalous. It was hidden because it was pure. A rare, unrepeatable moment where 2 people, exhausted, overworked, unexpectedly in the same place at the same time, found a connection in music, movement, and silence. A moment that didn't belong to fans, media, or producers. A moment that belonged only to them. The world will never see the lost footage. But the story, the energy, the tension, it lingers. In their glances. In their smiles. In the way the air shifts when they're near each other. Some recordings disappear. Some moments remain. And this one never left them. The memory of that night lingered in the minds of everyone involved, even those who weren't supposed to remember. The intern who saw the footage couldn't forget the way the studio seemed alive, breathing with the rhythm of 2 people moving in sync, yet completely unscripted. Days later, he replayed the video in his mind like a forbidden song, each detail sharpening, refusing to fade. How Jun-ho's hand lightly brushed YoonA's back as if the music itself had instructed him. How her laughter filled the empty studio without embarrassment. How the air vibrated with something unspoken, magnetic, untouchable. Even in stillness, the scene seemed to pulse. Meanwhile, YoonA tried to dismiss it as coincidence, telling herself it was nothing more than late-night exhaustion combined with shared choreography. But her body remembered. The subtle weight of his hand, the careful alignment of their steps, the quiet laughter that wasn't part of the routine. Every time she rehearsed, every time she watched the playback of official clips, she felt a faint echo of that night, impossible to erase. She started avoiding the studio alone, pretending it was about schedule, about fatigue, about professionalism. But the truth, unacknowledged even to herself, was curiosity. And something else. Something dangerous. Jun-ho wasn't exempt either. For him, the memory was sharper, almost intrusive. He recalled her eyes when she turned in the middle of the spin, the way her fingers grazed his arm in a way that wasn't rehearsed. He remembered the pause when he lifted her, the perfect, suspended moment when the studio held its breath along with them. That single second replayed in his mind with more clarity than the entire day's work, as if time itself had chosen to linger there, in that imperceptible collision of two worlds. Every rehearsal afterwards, he found himself searching for echoes of it, subtle movements, brief touches, unplanned gestures, anything that could resurrect what had already slipped away, hidden by deleted files and cautious staff members. The public had no idea, of course. Fans speculated endlessly about their chemistry during public appearances, but no one knew the depth, the private moments that existed beyond cameras, beyond schedules, beyond rehearsal logs. And yet, the world seemed to sense something. Comments flew like whispers on the wind. Did you see the look he gave her? They move like they know each other too well. Social media buzzed, dissecting every minor gesture, every fleeting glance. Rumors swelled, fueled by imagination and subtle hints, but the truth, the footage, remained buried, hidden, protected. Weeks after the incident, whispers among the crew grew louder. A staff member who had caught glimpses of Jun-ho and YoonA practicing together at unscheduled hours began telling close friends. It's different when they're alone. There's tension, energy, something you can't plan. It's like the music owns them and they follow. These murmurs, small and hushed, eventually seeped into fan forums, sparking theories about secret rehearsals and unrecorded moments, turning private tension into public fascination. The absence of evidence made the imagination run wild, the missing footage a magnet for speculation. One night, Jun-ho returned to the studio alone. He couldn't stay away. It was irrational, dangerous even, but he needed to retrace that night, to feel the space, to remind himself of what had existed, even if no one else could see it. The lights flickered as he stepped inside, the empty mirrors reflecting his silhouette. He moved cautiously, tracing the steps he and YoonA had taken, letting his hand brush the same spots on the polished floor, half expecting her to appear from the shadows. His heartbeat quickened, not from fear but from memory. Every corner of the studio whispered her presence. He began practicing alone, as if she were there beside him. Every spin, every lift, every pause mirrored what had happened that midnight, though he had no partner. And yet, somehow, the memory of her filled the empty space, guiding him, moving him, urging him to recreate something that was irretrievably gone. He realized then that the footage wasn't just lost to the system, it had been lost to reality. The dance had belonged to both of them, a fleeting secret moment too fragile to survive external eyes. YoonA felt it too. She couldn't explain why she began leaving small tokens behind in the studio. A scarf folded neatly on the floor, a single sheet of music left open on the piano bench. She imagined him noticing them, a quiet acknowledgement of their shared space, a private conversation without words. Every time she walked away, she cast one last glance at the mirrored walls, half hoping he would be there, half dreading it. It was a game of anticipation and restraint, a silent continuation of the dance they could no longer perform together openly. Then came the incident with the camera intern, the one who had first seen the footage. He began noticing subtle inconsistencies. Footage from other studios, other sessions, had gaps, small edits, unexplained cuts. Each time he looked, he felt the weight of secrecy pressing against him, as if someone or something wanted to keep certain moments unseen. He became obsessed with the idea of capturing even a fraction of what he had glimpsed, scanning through archives, reviewing timestamps, analyzing shadows and reflections, desperate to reconstruct the lost sequence. But no matter how hard he tried, the footage remained elusive, like a dream dissolving at dawn. The tension between Jun-ho and YoonA became palpable whenever they were in the same room. Crew members noticed it in subtle gestures. The way he caught her gaze for an extra heartbeat, the way she smiled slightly longer than necessary, the tiny movements in rehearsals that mirrored that lost midnight choreography. They didn't acknowledge it publicly, didn't speak of it directly, but the energy crackled in ways too obvious to ignore. It was a secret kept in plain sight, a shared memory manifesting in real life, intangible yet undeniable. Then came a night when the studio's main system unexpectedly rebooted. Files that had been considered deleted appeared in temporary folders, fragments of clips that were corrupted, pixelated beyond recognition but still discernible. The intern couldn't resist. He pieced together segments, blurry snapshots of a lift, a spin, two shadows moving in synchrony, glimpses of a laugh caught mid-air. Each fragment, though imperfect, captured the essence of that night. The electricity, the spontaneity, the intimacy that the official channels had tried to erase. He realized then that even if the footage was destroyed, memory and interpretation could preserve it. The dance, the chemistry, the tension, it could never truly vanish. Jun-ho and YoonA themselves never spoke about that night. Yet the studio seemed to remember. Every late-night rehearsal carried echoes of it. Every empty mirror reflected not just their own image, but the ghost of the other's presence. And in the silence between beats, the pauses between steps, the moments when nothing happened at all, the memory persisted. It was a private energy, alive in the space, alive in the way they moved, alive in the way the world suspected something existed but never saw.